After spending about 13 years working in schools as a teacher and a social worker, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard teachers complain, "This child is always absent. Their parent must not care." Or, "That kid is so rude. Didn't your parents teach you any manners?" Or parents complain, "My child doesn't attend your class because they don't like you." Or, "I don't send my child to school to get bullied." I don't know about you, but when I was a teacher, I loved teaching the baby kids. Or I should say the kids with big personalities and big emotions to match. I would use trauma storytelling to get them engaged and excited about their learning. I think about my very first year teaching when I had Greg. Now, Greg was always absent. In fact, he was repeating the 6th grade. But the times that he was in school, I could tell that he was really bright. He would answer questions, they would always be right, and they would always be insightful. One day, during my lunch break, when Greg actually came to school, he walked by my office and he smelled this aroma of curry chicken. And he said, "Miss Muschett, is that curry chicken?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Pieces!" And I said, "Gregory, if you want a piece of my curry chicken, you're gonna have to finish that essay that you didn't finish." Gregory took a seat, sat down, and finished his entire essay for one piece of curry chicken. From that day on, we had several working lunches where I would bribe Gregory with food, my mom's cooking, and he would finish his essay. He got so invested in his school that he started helping me. When I needed to record my classes for my grad program, Gregory would manage class behavior. He would look at his friends and say, "Chill, this is for her school." Then I think about my 8th grade dance students. They were a handful, but I loved them because they would come into my office during the school day, vent to me, and teach me things. Specifically, Brenda. Brenda was one of my young ladies that I had to take with me to Bedford Hills Correctional Facility for a restorative intervention program. Brenda was struggling to fight, and that was her goal coming back from the trip. She did not want to fight for the rest of the school year. So she rushes to my office to say, "Miss Muschett, I have to talk to you. I don't want to fight, but I think I'm going to have to fight." So I say, "Brenda, come on in, have a seat. What's going on?" And she says, "I saw my friend on Facebook. She was on this video doing something really nasty with this boy, and everybody's talking about her. So I went up to her to tell her that she needed to stop because you're always telling us to respect ourselves and respect our bodies." So I tried to tell her, "This boy doesn't respect you. You need to take it down because he has you out here acting like a thought." So Brenda starts getting upset and says, "Now we're gonna fight." So I said, "Brenda," looking at her very perplexed, "what does that have to do with you?" She said, "I don't want to fight my best friend. My best friend wants to fight me because she thinks that I called her a thought. But I didn't call her a thought, miss. I said she was acting like a thought." I sat there and I looked at Brenda really perplexed and I said, "Brenda, what's a thought?" And she's like, "Oh, miss, you don't know what a thought is? That hoe over there." I had to do my own check for understanding because to be a trusting adult, we want to make sure that we understand what is going on in the world of young people. One of my favorite students was Maddie. Maddie was a star student. She got good grades. Her mom loved her, was proud of her, and was very, very involved. But halfway in the school year, Maddie's behavior began to change drastically. I don't know what was going on. She stopped doing her homework. She started having an attitude. But one specific day in particular, she lost it. This boy in the class said something about her mama, and she got so upset that she leaped across the room and tried to choke the boy and shove a marker down his throat. Obviously, immediately, a parent conference was had. When Maddie's mom came in, her energy was low, her head was shaved, and there was scarring on her scalp. Maddie's 16-year-old sister, who translated for Mom because Mom didn't speak English well, informed us that Maddie's mom was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer. And every time we called home to discuss Maddie's behavior, they would reinforce that Maddie was making her mom more sick. Imagine that, to be 12 years old, about to lose your mom, but your teachers, your parents, your village, all they could see is behavior. Behavior is the one thing adults never want to deal with. They just want students to sit down, be quiet, and don't ask questions. I learned that year, though, that behaviors are signposts that a trauma, transition, or change is taking place. Gregory's backtalk taught me that all he needed was a hot meal and someone to believe in him to graduate from 6th grade. Brenda, she just needed a positive adult to talk to share what her peer experiences were taking place. And Maddie, we all came together to create a collaborative intervention plan that included student advisory, hand signs to help her get through the day, and just positive energy thrown her way. With that plan, Maddie was able to end the school year strong. From that point on, moving forward, I began to add restorative circles in every classroom that I taught moving forward. If I was doing a do now activity, they would write down how their weekend was in a couple of sentences, and then we would share out. Doing these restorative practices in schools started to create some tension with school system admins, and I decided to take my restorative practice outside of the school. I decided to take kids from my dance classes, my intervention classes, into the woods for an experience. So picture this: high school kids, dares, no Wi-Fi, an outhouse bathroom, in the woods in upstate New York. After the culture shock, they had to agree to my 4 non-negotiables. Number 1, everyone participates. I say that is the most important rule because typically when we are facilitating safe spaces with young people, the adult doesn't share. The facilitator doesn't say anything that is vulnerable. A lot of times we expect people to be vulnerable with us, but we're not vulnerable back. That's not a safe space. Everyone has to share, including me and any adult in the room. Because when you share something personal with someone and they don't share back, you feel like they have something over you. They have power over you. But if everyone insert something vulnerable into the space, we all can trust that what they said or what I said won't be taken away. And therefore, it's a truly balanced, safe space, and the power dynamic is balanced. Rule number 2, no cell phones. I want to say being in the woods with no service helped me with this tremendously. But the real reason why there's no cell phone is because we have to decompress and focus on ourselves away from the devices so that you can hear what your mind, your body, and your soul is telling you. Rule number 3, respect everyone's differences. We're from different cultures, different life experiences, and everything that we share on the mountain is valid and has value. We may not be able to agree with everything, but we can always agree to disagree. And the last rule is have fun. So first, the experience is a mountain experience. That's how I like to describe it. First, we start off slow and easy with icebreakers because who wants to tell their business to a stranger? Not I. So we start with light, calm activities to work and build our way up the mountain. Then we actually take a 3-mile hike up a literal mountain. Once we got to the mountaintop, we sat in a circle, wrote down our traumas, and then shared them. Things like sexual abuse from a family member, or cyberbullying, or struggling with a learning disability. And after that, they wrote their traumas down. They were able to stand at the top of the mountain and toss the trauma over the mountain to release the power it has over them and say, I am not my trauma. When we came back from that trip, the kids glowed with empowerment. They were ready to tell any and everybody what their boundaries were, what their self-care strategies were, including their parents. My friend Javon decided that he no longer was going to wash dishes that he didn't eat from, period. So when his mom called me complaining that he doesn't do chores, we had to have a family session in home with his mentor so that we could negotiate some of these boundaries. So much so that 2 years later, I had to bring adults to the woods. Strangers to share the worst things that's ever happened to them. Okay? And as these adults participated, they started to see that they were actually emotionally unavailable for their children and even themselves. I think about a specific couple, Tab and Don, who were together and didn't even know each other's trauma and didn't even realize that they were actually triggering one another to create a DV situation in their home. And the camp helped them realize that situation. Trauma storytelling, it fosters the vulnerability that's required to create human connection and belonging. When trauma is unaddressed, it triples the likelihood of developing a mental health disorder. According to the Adverse Child Experiences Survey, and women are 3 times more likely to self-injure or attempt a suicide. I was in the 3rd grade the first time I cut. Suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death of young people ages 13 to 24. I remember my student Erica, who came and talked to me during my prep, and at the end of the year told me that that conversation changed her mind about suicidal ideations she was having. Men are 4 times more likely to successfully complete a suicide attempt. I lost 2 male students in the last 5 years in this way. Our society and our children are in pain. That mindset of what happens in our house stays in our house is making us sick. We need to set aside time for trauma storytelling so that we can get in touch with our families, our friends, and find out what's actually going wrong. I've made 9 trips over the last 8 years to the woods, and I've taken about 90 people. Ages ranges from 6 to 64. And during that time, human connection was felt, transformation was made, and self-esteem and empowerment was achieved. So my question to you is, will you incorporate or make time for trauma storytelling in your life, whether it is monthly, weekly, or annually, whether it's in a PD, a retreat, if you're an educator or a youth professional, or maybe Sunday dinners, or I don't know about, Sunday dinners is usually the great place to do it at home, to have some trauma storytelling, or dinner time in general, right? We want to make sure that you incorporate it in your daily routine, something that's a practice. Check in with one another. Trauma is unaddressed adversity. All it is that things are going wrong in our life as life does. Life is lifing. If it's not processed, it becomes trauma. And so to avoid that, all we have to do is talk more with each other. So please incorporate more trauma storytelling in your life. Thank you.